Once, people asked the Prophet, "Tell us a little about Khadijah." And the Prophet, in one of the hadiths, said, "I was given support, a gift from the Lord, the roof over our heads, the food we eat, the air we breathe, the years we lived together, the minutes and hours we spent. This is what we receive from Allah. The Lord sent me her love from the heavens. The Lord granted me her love from the heavens. Her love was not of this world. She is the mother of my children. She is the love of my life. That is who she is." In one of the hadiths, they asked him, "Tell us about Khadijah. Tell us about her." These were some young companions, and the Prophet said, "She was who she was. Where do you want me to start? Where should I begin? I cannot even express it in words. I don't even know what to tell you. She is so amazing. I cannot even explain it to you. You would have to see her. You would have to know her. You would have to feel these feelings to understand how amazing and wonderful she was." Do you know what Aisha once said to Muhammad? He kept talking about Khadijah non-stop, that she was a very good woman. She supported me. She did this. She did that. So one day I said to him, "O Muhammad, she was just an old woman and she left you. And truly Allah has given you something better than her. So why do you keep talking about her?" To which the Prophet said, "By Allah, no. Allah has never given me anyone better than her. She believed in me when others accused me of lying. She supported me financially when others refused me. She was a strong pillar." So Aisha looked at him, and there was this passion in him as he was speaking. She said, "Forgive me. I will never again say a single bad word about Khadijah after this day." And she never did so again. One of those who hold the highest ranks is none other than the lady, the mother of the believers, known as Khadijah bint Khuwaylid. Her father was Khuwaylid ibn Asad. Her mother was named Fatima bint al-Zaida. Her father died in one of the battles, and as she grew up, it is narrated that she married a man named Atiq ibn Ayyida al-Makhzumi, and the man soon passed away. He died. We do not know exactly how it happened, and it is narrated that after a short period of time, she married again, a man named Abu Hala. He also died. She was a well-known widow. She was fairly young. She was a very wealthy woman. From among the noble tribes of the Quraysh, she was highly respected, and at the same time many men wanted to marry her. But she was very skeptical about this, because she had already gone through one marriage, and another one after that, according to the hadiths. However, what is well known is that she was a wealthy businesswoman who had business dealings with certain men who would take her property and goods and travel north or south across the peninsula, where upon return they would trade on her behalf, on the condition that they would receive a percentage of the share. But she was not satisfied with such men, with what they were doing, their accounting, and so on. So the Prophet began working as a shepherd. He was a young man and continued working, saving some money. And at the age of 18 to 19, he began entering the market. He had small savings to start with, and in the beginning he worked as a broker. He introduced buyers and sellers to each other and received commissions. Immediately, without delay, he became known for his honesty. He built himself a reputation as an honest man, and that is why his nicknames As-Sadiq and Al-Amin began to spread. And ultimately this led him to the point where he had now earned enough money to begin trading and acquiring his own goods. And now he was already officially in the market as a merchant. He earned his fame through a hard-working reputation, because again, he never dared earn even a single cent unlawfully, for example, by undercutting someone else's business, selling cheaper, or selling for next to nothing to someone, until finally he received a business offer from a woman named Khadijah bint Khuwaylid. Some people of Mecca called her the Princess of Mecca. Some called her Khadijah al-Kubra, the Great Khadijah. Muhammad began speaking with her. She said, "Listen, I want you to handle this business. You will take a certain percentage," and so on. And he agreed. She said to him, "I will send one of my servants with you. His name is Maysara." So Maysara set out with Muhammad, and apparently they went to Sham to trade there. He saw many interesting things along the way. First, he witnessed his honesty. He witnessed his conscientiousness. He also witnessed some miracles, when he saw clouds that followed casting shade over his head. The Prophet stopped in one place and took shelter in the shade of a tree. And then a monk was astonished and asked, "Who is this man?" Maysara said it was Muhammad ibn Abdullah al-Qurashi al-Hashimi. He said, No, you are mistaken, because it is written in our scripture that the man who sits under the shade of this tree at this particular time will in fact be the prophet of the last age. And Maysara was greatly astonished. In the end, when they returned to Mecca, the Prophet had earned twice as much profit, and Khadijah had never made such a business investment before, so she herself was impressed. Then she asked Maysara, "What did you see?" He replied, "This is without a doubt the most noble man I have ever done business with. I have never seen a character like his. He is honest, he is trustworthy, he is attentive, he is caring. He has the highest, most noble character." And at the end he said, "By the way, and this is between us, I saw some remarkable things." One of her friends named Nafisa asked, "How are things going?" She replied, "Never better. It is amazing. I found a business partner. His name is Muhammad. He is a young man, honest, noble, with an excellent character, an amazing young man. Nothing to complain about. It is amazing." She said, "You know, Khadijah, you have been alone for so many years now. You should think about getting married again." She was extremely sought after. She received proposals every single day. Even the Prophet was now receiving proposals of marriage, and his heart simply could not agree to any of the proposals he received. And there is a hadith where Abu Talib had the following conversation with him. "You keep rejecting proposals. Stop it. You are making my life difficult. They are breaking down my doors." So both of them were receiving marriage proposals. And Khadijah's friend Nafisa said, "Khadijah, you should think about marriage." She replied, "Yes, you know, I have been thinking about it. There has to be a decent man." And at that moment her friend Nafisa said, "What about Muhammad?" And Khadijah replied, "You know what? I have actually been thinking about that too. It would be a very, very good match. But how do I do this?" She replied, "Let me take care of it. I will handle it." So she went to the Prophet and she said to him, "Have you thought about Khadijah? She comes from a very, very noble family." And the Prophet replied, "Of course, what offer could be better than this?" So the Prophet said, "I need to go and speak with my uncle about this. I need to go and consult with him." So he went to his uncle Abu Talib and said to him, "Oh uncle, such a proposal from Khadijah has come to me." And Abu Talib replied, "This is a wonderful proposal." So he said, "We need to make this official." So Abu Talib, as narrated in the hadith, and Hamza was also there, they went to Khadijah's uncle. And they, as is fitting, officially, properly, respectfully made the proposal. "Here is our young man Muhammad, who wishes to marry your niece, this righteous woman from your family, Khadijah." And they all agreed to the proposal. So they decided to marry. And in one of the hadiths it is said that the Prophet did not even hesitate regarding this proposal. But he said, "I need a little time to arrange some things, to prepare for marriage, to prepare the financial side, to respectfully provide a proper mahr. That is, I need some time to prepare." And Khadijah said, "None of that is necessary. We do not need all of this. What we focus on is happiness, sharing a life together." And the Prophet offered 20 camels as mahr. They married very happily. They enjoyed happiness and pleasant moments. An interesting thing is that he married at the age of 25. And there was no grand event. And we know that the Prophet was intelligent, talented, respected, suitable for all kinds of roles. So why did he not participate in any endeavors in his society for 10 years? Because he was occupied with a more important task. That was building a home and creating a family. He spent his time with his wife. They had children. They were building a family. They were raising wonderful children. They had 6 children during that time. Who were those 6 children? 2 boys, Abdullah and Al-Qasim. Al-Qasim passed away at approximately 2 years of age. It is narrated that he was already walking, and so on. He was active, and it was at that time that he died. It was a very sad day. The son of Muhammad from Khadijah passed away. As for Abdullah, he was also known as a Tayyib, as well as a Tahir, but his name was Abdullah. He died in infancy, and it was a great loss. But they were prepared for this. Both of them had faced the loss of their own parents, as well as the loss of relatives, and now the loss of their own children. Glory be to Allah. They had 4 daughters. The names of the daughters, Zainab, Ruqayya, Kulthum, and Fatima. These were the 4 daughters of Muhammad. All of them were from Khadijah bint Khuwaylid. This couple grew together with the deepest love. They never argued, they never fought. They never went through hardships and misfortunes separately. There was peace and happiness, love and affection, kindness and mercy, with forgiveness. And when he reached the age of 38 to 39, the Prophet experienced a very interesting experience. He began seeing dreams at night, and what happened the next day was that the dreams turned into reality. So the Prophet decided that he needed time to reflect from time to time. He told his wife, "I am seeing these dreams, and what I see becomes reality the next day." She would tell him, "Do not worry, just trust your heart. Everything has a purpose and a reason." Then he told her that he needed time to think and reflect. He needed to clear his head. She told him, "Absolutely, She packed him some food, clothing, some supplies, and sent him off with love. And he found a small cave called Hira. And he actually chose this place because when he sat at the entrance of the cave, he could see the Kaaba from there. And he sat there, meditating, reflecting, praying, and contemplating. And so he would come and go, a couple of days here and there. One day, as it is narrated, he disappeared for a while, and Khadijah constantly helped him pack the things he took with him. She knew exactly how much food he needed. She understood that if he was going to be gone for a long time, he would need food. So she packed him food and some supplies, went outside of Mecca, and climbed the mountains. And the Prophet was sitting at the entrance of the cave. He saw her and said, "What are you doing here?" She said, "I was worried. I wanted to make sure you were all right. I brought you some food." That is what their relationship looked like. A shared understanding, cooperation, help, and care for one another. One day, while he was in the cave of Hira, the angel Jibreel came to him with revelation, and he was frightened by this. Trembling, he ran down from the mountains, and to whom did he go? When this happened to the Prophet, he knew that this woman had the qualities of a true wife, one to whom, if I come with problems, she will help me overcome them. She will stand by my side, and she knew him as the most honest, the most trustworthy, as a unique person, the greatest of men, as the greatest of all of Allah's creation. She knew the essence of this man. She saw him and witnessed that he came trembling. He said, "Wrap me up, wrap me up." She immediately covered him, embraced him, asked what had happened. He told the story. "I was in the cave, and such happened to me." He described it in the smallest details. She said to him, "No, by Allah, Allah will never disgrace you." She sat down next to him, took his hand, looked him in the eyes. 15 years of marriage, 6 children, the death of 2 of the children. They had been through everything together. Listen to what she said. She said, "There is absolutely nothing to worry about. I swear by the Lord. The Lord will never disgrace you. He will never abandon you." Why do I say this with such confidence? What do I know about you? After 15 years of living together, sharing mornings and evenings, days and nights, after living with you, what can I say about you? You are a good family man. You love your family. You honor your guests. You look after people. You seek out people who are overlooked and neglected, who are oppressed in society. You go, take them by the hand, and bring them back. You take care of those who cannot take care of themselves. And you are always the first to be present where there is a worthy reason to be. That is who you are. There is not a single reason why the Lord would abandon you. The Lord will never leave you. I refuse to believe that. She would have followed him to the moon. She trusted him, no matter what. And she said that she had no doubt that this is the truth, and that it is goodness, because that is who you are. She said, "I believe in this message, that there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is his servant and messenger." And then she even helped him, as best she could, with what she knew. She took him to Waraka ibn Nawfal, who was her cousin, who knew much about the Old Testament, about the previous scriptures. So they went to him. She did not say to him, "No, you are having hallucinations. No, you were just having nightmares." No, she did not even have doubts about believing him, because he had never lied before. And what happened? When they went to Waraka ibn Nawfal, he said, "By Allah, this is the same angel who came to the previous prophets, including Jesus, Moses, and others. Very soon he will tell you to deliver the message." He said, "I would like to be present on the day when you are entrusted with delivering the message." And that is when Muhammad, after some time, began to inform others. And remarkably, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq then joined him, Ali ibn Abi Talib, Zayd ibn Haritha, and others, who began to accept Islam. And then the Quraysh began to cause all their harm. And Khadijah bint Khuwaylid, who was an influential woman among the Quraysh, who had business connections and was so unique, she used her power in terms of economic strength to protect Muhammad and to support him as his wife. And therefore, after some time, Muhammad said, "She spent on me when others held back. She did not hesitate. She supported him. She defended him. She spoke highly of him, even after the prophethood. She tirelessly repeated, 'He is the most truthful. What he says is the complete truth.'" Khadijah woke up every morning, stood with him by the door, saying to him, "Go out and spread this message everywhere." Eventually, the time came over the next 6 to 7 years, and much happened. The opposition to the message of the Prophet decided that the only way to deal with and stop this was to boycott Muhammad, his family, his followers, and those who support him, to banish them from Mecca, to isolate and boycott them. So Abu Talib gathered the clan, all the believers, all the followers, all those who support, including the Prophet, his beloved wife, and their children. And they went to a place, a certain valley, a certain land, and they were isolated there for 3 years. No one did business with them. No one traded with them. No one lent them any money. No one provided them with food. No one had any dealings with them in any form whatsoever. No one showed them any kindness whatsoever. There were days when people had nothing to eat and nothing to drink. Children cried because hunger struck them. Their mothers wept because they had nothing to feed their children. Dozens of graves were dug during that period of time. People became sick, exhausted, very, very seriously ill, until finally help came again from Allah, a miracle. The boycott was lifted, and everyone returned to Mecca. And it is said that at this time Khadijah, who was no longer young, became unwell and began to fall seriously ill. And the harshness of those 3 years, not just physical harshness but emotional hardship, watching these people struggle, caring for them, loving them. She was like a mother to all of them. Her heart simply could not bear it, and a few months later she was simply confined to her bed for several months. And the Prophet was so distressed all this time, until finally she breathed her last and passed away. There are hadiths in which it is said that the Prophet was so devastated, he did not even leave his home. He simply sat at home with his daughters and tried to recover, grieving, healing. For several days he was not seen outside. And when members of his family came to visit him, they saw traces of tears on his face. Holding his daughters, he sat there, trying to comfort his daughters over the loss of their mother. And it is said that even Abu Lahab came to his door. He had heard that the Prophet had not been seen outside for several days. He came to the door of the Prophet. He knocked, and when the Prophet opened the door, seeing the face of the Prophet, Abu Lahab, who had been a fierce opponent of the Prophet for decades, upon seeing the face of the Prophet, felt sorrow, and then he said, "I will no longer oppose my nephew." Even his heart softened, even if only for a few minutes, and this was Abu Lahab. He loved her deeply. He never forgot Khadijah. He never forgot her. 4 years after her passing, his son-in-law became one of the prisoners of war. He had fought on the opposing side at the Battle of Badr and was captured. His daughter, his eldest daughter Zainab, sent a necklace as ransom for her husband. When the necklace was shown to the Prophet, upon seeing it, he immediately recognized where he had seen it before. It was Khadijah's necklace. She had passed it on to her daughter, her eldest daughter Zainab. And when the Prophet saw this necklace a second time, tears began to stream down his face immediately upon seeing it. And the people standing there were so puzzled. Immediately such a rush of feelings, such a surge of emotions that the Prophet experienced. Some of them began to apologize and ask if everything was all right. And the Prophet replied, "You have done nothing wrong. I simply remembered this necklace. It belonged to my Khadijah. She passed it on to her daughter Zainab, and seeing this necklace reminded me of her." One day the Prophet was sitting at home, and he heard a knock that he recognized. It was the same knock that Khadijah used to make at the door, and it was her own sister Hala. And as soon as the Prophet heard that knock, he jumped up and ran to the door, saying, "O Allah, let it be Hala. Let it be the sister of my wife, Hala." And he opened the door, and there stood Hala. He invited her in, she entered and sat down, and they spoke for hours about Khadijah. And this was already a decade after her passing. One of the later wives of the Prophet, Aisha, even remarked. She said, "Sometimes it seems as if for you there is no one else in this world except Khadijah. It is all you talk about, every little detail. Yes, that is how Khadijah used to do it. And you know what? That is how Khadijah used to act, always like that. That is how Khadijah loved to do things, always." Ibn Ishaq writes, "Khadijah, daughter of Khuwaylid, she believed, she supported, and she declared that everything sent to the Prophet from the Lord was the truth. She helped and supported him in his mission. She was his greatest, strongest, most devoted supporter. She was the first to believe in Allah and in his messenger Muhammad, the first to believe in the truth of Islam. Allah eased the burden of the Prophet through Khadijah. She was the pillar he could lean on. Every time he heard something that hurt him, when people rejected him, when people turned away from him, when people cursed and insulted him, and it truly caused him pain, He would come home to Khadijah. He would talk with Khadijah. Allah removed the sadness, the grief, the worry, the pain of the Prophet through Khadijah, who gave him strength, confirming his truth. And the fact that he is the Prophet, that he is the messenger, and that he speaks the truth. Constantly, whenever he faced difficulties outside the home, he would return home to Khadijah, and Khadijah would take him by the hand, look him in the eyes and say, "You are the Prophet of Allah. You are the messenger of Allah. You are preaching the truth. You must continue doing what you are doing." She was his pillar, his support, his strength. One day the Prophet was sitting at home. Khadijah got up and went to the stove, to the fire that was burning outside the house, right by the door. So she went out to check what was cooking on the stove. The angel Jibreel came to the Prophet, and he said to the Prophet, "There is Khadijah. She has a bowl in her hands with food for you. When she comes to you with this food and places it before you, I want you to take her and tell her that the Lord sends her his greetings of peace." Allah sent his greetings of peace to Khadijah, and Allah gave her the glad tidings. Allah congratulated her that she will have a palace in paradise, as far as the eye can see, adorned with extraordinary pearls. It will have no joints, no cracks, no columns, no connecting beams. There will be no noise in it. There will be no hardships, no difficulties, never. And this palace is already ready. The Lord prepared it himself for Khadijah, and he wants her to know that it is ready for her. And he sent her his greetings of peace, so that she knows that he is waiting for her. When the Prophet told Khadijah this, she could not hold back and burst into tears. "The Lord sent his greetings of peace to me? He mentioned me. He sent his greetings of peace to me." That is who Khadijah was. And he continued to live the next 12 to 13 years after her passing, never forgetting her, always living with her memory. That is true love. This is the love story of Muhammad and Khadijah.